Yeah, I went a little overboard with the setup. Welcome to another episode of Buyer's Guide. Today I want to talk about 5 different ways you could win a bidding war without raising your price. Now, realistically, there's probably like 10 to 15 ways that you could win a bidding war without going over price. I'm only going to go over 5 different ways. So if you have any ways that you could think of or that you've heard of, write them down so that way, you let other people know. Maybe it's something that I didn't even think of. There's more than just these 5 different options. I'm going to list them from the easiest all the way up to the hardest. So option number 1, simple enough, write a letter. Not enough people do this. Selling a home is an emotional thing. And if you write a letter to the sellers that goes with your offer letter, that just simply says, dear sellers, it's so obvious how much care you've taken into the house. Your family must have had a great time. Whatever it is, but something that makes it so you talk about how much you like their house. You talk about how well you could see yourself in that house, the care that they took into it, things like that. Be honest, be real, but that emotion that the sellers will get reading that letter from you can be the difference between you getting the house and somebody else getting the house. Option number 2, be flexible. Now this won't work with every buyer. I know everybody's schedule is different, but find out the seller's schedule. See when it is that they actually want to move. If they say, I need this done as soon as possible and that works for you, make sure you write that in the contract. Willing to work at your speed, will be able to close as soon as possible, if that actually does work for you. Or on the flip side, maybe, they're waiting for a job or they have kids in school or something like that, and they need a few extra weeks. If that works for you, put that into the contract. Willing to work at your schedule, can move, can extend the closing date to X. Has to work for you and your schedule, has to work with the bank as well, but if it does work, go on the seller's schedule and make sure that they know that you're working on their schedule. Option number 3 is drop the contingencies. Now, as a real estate agent, we don't say waive the inspection, but if you're looking at a new construction house and you know it's covered under warranty, you may not need to do the inspection. So do your own research, make sure you are comfortable with it, but some people right now, actually I'd say more than some people, a lot of people right now are waiving inspections, new construction or not new construction. Again, not saying that's something that I recommend doing, but if that's something that you're comfortable with, that's what some buyers are doing. Or simply, if you're making the contract for the first time, don't put a bunch of contingencies in it, saying, I'll buy the house if you do this. The less contingencies, the better when it comes to a bidding war. All right, number 4 is cash. Now, not everybody is motivated by money. Not everybody's going to go for the highest offer. But when it comes to cash versus financing, a lot of people are going to go for the cash options. So again, this isn't going to work for everybody, but if you could pay for the whole house in cash or most of it in cash, that's going to be something that makes you stand out from the other buyers. Again, not going to work for everybody. Maybe you can increase your down payment by a couple $1,000s. And lastly, number 5, this is the hardest one. This is probably the rarest one. I'd say use only in case of an emergency kind of thing. Not really, but you get the idea. An escalation clause. So an escalation clause works like this. Let's, for round numbers, say the house costs $400,000. You say, I'm putting in an offer for $400,000, but I'm willing to escalate that offer to $410,000 at the most if somebody puts in an offer above $400,000. So you see where it gets a little bit confusing, a little tricky. Not everybody likes these. There's a lot of sellers that say, I won't accept any escalation clauses. A lot of agents don't even bother writing them up. So it's not something you see very often. Now, the downside to an escalation clause, one of the downsides, there's a few, but one of the big ones is if this was like a game of poker or something, you're showing your hand. You're showing, I'm really willing to spend up to this much on your house, but I'm only showing you that I'm willing to spend this much. Out of those 5 options, I'm sure one of those will work for you, so hopefully you could win if you find yourself in a bidding war.